Good evening. Hello, and thank you for being here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Joan Lubar, board chair of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. It's great to come together again. I continue to feel a profound sense of unity as we gather again in solidarity for a cause that binds us together, standing strong for Israel. Like you, I too continue to be heartbroken, seeing what's unfolding in Israel and thinking about the more than 200 hostages whose pictures are behind you back there, still hoping to be reunited with their families. I believe all of us are here tonight because we are deeply committed to the Jewish community. And we might also be highly concerned about our Jewish future, both here in Israel and around the world. In these challenging times, our presence here tonight not only symbolizes our unwavering support for the land we hold dear, but also our commitment to one another, to our shared values, and to the enduring strength of this community. To that, I want to acknowledge the outstanding community partners the Federation has in navigating these challenging times. On the back of your program, you'll see the local organizations partnering with us on tonight's effort. We can't thank them enough for supporting us in what is the largest crisis in 3 generations. One partner I want to specifically thank and whose importance is magnified at a time like this is Jewish Family Services. JFS has provided a safe space for conversations, being a guiding light in difficult times and a pillar of strength for those who need it most. If you or anyone you know is having difficulty processing these extremely difficult times, please know that JFS is available. They're here tonight, and they're always ready to listen and assist. Tonight's program will cover what is currently happening in Israel, and we'll learn how the resilient spirit of Milwaukeeans is responding to the call for unity. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Alana Stein-Hain, will share her wisdom, shedding light on how we can find ways to further unite as a community. Her insights will inspire us and guide us as we navigate the challenges that lie ahead. We'll receive an update on the Israel Emergency Fund, the vital lifeline from the Milwaukee community direct to Israel that enables us to extend our help to those who are most in need, as well as the annual campaign, which ensures that we have the infrastructure in place for times like this. Through our collective efforts with the Jewish Federations of North America, we have the power to make an immense difference, to alleviate suffering, and to contribute to the healing process. It is our collective responsibility to stand tall and offer our support in whatever way we can. Now I'd like to ask you to please turn your attention to the screens for a message from Yakon Dekel, the Director for Canada at the Jewish Agency for Israel. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. My name is Yaron Dekel. I'm the Director for Canada of the Jewish Agency for Israel and a former Israeli journalist for over 3 decades on radio and TV in Israel. The day of October the 7th was probably the darkest day in Israel history since it was born 75 years ago. Probably and possibly the darkest day in the Jewish history since the Nazis. 1,400 people, 1,400 men, women, kids, elderly, and babies were killed, murdered, slaughtered, burned to death by Hamas terrorists. There is probably one difference between the Nazis and the Hamas terrorists, is that the Nazis did try to hide their atrocities, and the Hamas terrorists came with the GoPro cameras. Israel went into a war to try to kill and eliminate the Hamas terrorists and eliminate and destroy the infrastructure of this horrible terrorist organization. Israel cannot live with a situation that on its border there is such a cruel enemy as the Hamas. We should remember that Israel left Gaza Strip, all the soldiers, all the settlers, in 2005. Since then, Hamas used all its means, including millions of dollars they received from Qatar with the permission of Israel, to build terrorist machine to kill Israelis. The Hamas has no intention to reconcile with Israel, to make peace with Israel. Hamas wants to destroy Israel. Hamas wants to kill as many people as possible. Around 240 Israelis and other nationalities are now hostages in the Hamas hands in Gaza Strip, among them elderly and kids. The youngest hostage in the Gaza Strip is only 9 months old. Think of it, 9-month-old baby captured by these inhuman people. Israel went to a war, and in a few days ago, it started the ground incursion to try to get this enemy out of the region. It's a tough enemy, difficult battle, but Israel is determined to win this battle. We cannot allow such a situation to happen again. The US President, Joe Biden, came to tribute his support to the people of Israel in the middle of a war. No American president ever came to Israel in the midst of war to express his support. President Biden was the first. He also warned Iran and the Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran, not to get involved in the war. Hezbollah is still shooting, but the main war is against this cruel Hamas terrorist organization. And Israel is working. For 3 weeks it worked from air raids, and in the last few days it's a ground incursion in a battle to get the Hamas out. Israel will not continue to live next door with this terrorist organization. It's a tough situation when all the time we should remember that the Hamas is shooting rockets and missiles towards almost all over Israel. Half of the population has to get to a shelter, and in the city of Ashkelon, which is the nearby city, they have only 30 seconds to get to a shelter. 30 seconds, very, very short time. In Tel Aviv, around 1 minute to get to a shelter, and rockets, over 8,500 rockets were shot from Gaza Strip since this war began, and it still continues. We should win this war, and Israel will win this war, because Israel has no other choice. I'd like to thank you for your support, unequivalent support, which we really, really appreciate in Israel, and to finish by saying, let's hope for the victory. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you for listening.
A few hours ago, I landed back in Milwaukee after a 3-ish day trip to Israel. This is not the first time I've been on a solidarity mission, and as I saw Alan Markovitz in the back, he said, I've been on those. Those are tough. And I was there for the Second Intifada Solidarity Mission. I was there in 2008. I was there in 2014. I was there in 2021 with Joan and Moshe. This is different. This is the hardest trip, the hardest time I've ever seen in Israel, and I will try to share a little bit about it with you. This isn't a crisis, and someone said to me, there's no word for this yet, because this is deeper than what happened, the events in the massacre, the atrocities of October 7th. The entire state of Israel is traumatized because everything that they knew about their own safety and security, physically, psychologically, politically, is gone. They believed that the IDF will keep them safe and never again, and that's gone. They believed that fences will keep them safe, and that's gone. They believe that the government will be able to take care of them when things go wrong, and that's gone. Parents believed that they could save their children, and that's gone. They believed that safe rooms would keep them safe, and that's gone. And children believe that their parents can keep them safe, and that's gone. I didn't meet anyone who didn't look completely traumatized. And every time I thought I understood it, it was so much deeper. And at the same time, I saw the embodiment of what we say all the time, Kol Yisrael arivim ze bazeh, all Jews are responsible for one another. And in this case, I'm going to say all of Israel, because it's not just Jewish people, are responsible for one another. And where others have let them down, the incredible civil society has stood up and have taken care of each other. We went to Magen David Dome, and many of us know Magen David Dome, Israel's ambulance corps, Red Cross, blood bank. And we went to see something that I didn't know existed, which is they have a breast milk bank. They have a breast milk bank for kids in the ICU whose mothers can't produce milk, and they coordinate with mothers to donate so that they could get that to their children. Well, now they have to supply milk for 40 babies under the age of 6 months whose mother has either been murdered, kidnapped, or is hospitalized. 40 babies under the age of 6 months were being supplied. I saw incredible moments of taking care of each other. On October 7th, the kibbutz Shfaim in the center of Israel saw that kibbutz Aza was massacred. A quarter of its people were killed, others were kidnapped. The place is uninhabitable and there's nowhere for them to go, and kibbutz Shfaim said, "Come to us." And as we pulled up into the kibbutz, you saw signs that said, I'm trying to say it in English, like the building of the mourners, because an entire kibbutz was sitting shiva. Kibbutz Aza buried its children in the land of kibbutz Shfaim. And they took care of them. They took responsibility. They contacted the Israel Trauma Center to learn how to help people through this trauma. And I sat there and I heard parents tell me about the texts that were coming from their children in a few doors down, in which they're saying, "Mommy, Mommy, they're coming." And then the line goes silent. I heard children tell about their parents who have been kidnapped and they haven't heard from them. And I heard parents talk about seeing their kids from a text that someone found on Telegram and said, "At least I know my child is alive." We sat there and wept. Mandy, a British woman, has lived in kibbutz Aza for 14 years. Her daughter Emily, who's 14, was kidnapped. And Mandy said, "I don't understand how this is not the headline every day on the news. How can it be that the headlines," her words were, "that Chandler Bing has died when my daughter hasn't come home? 240 hostages are still missing." But Mandy said that she and other mothers sat in kibbutz Shfaim and had a conversation. Should we go somewhere to protect our children? And then they opened up the news and saw marches all over the world, not just sympathizing with Palestinians, because no one has an issue with people sympathizing with the Palestinian people, but celebrating Hamas, celebrating a terrorist group, celebrating the death and the massacre of the Jewish people from an organization that has said its only job is to kill the Jewish people. And we know that anti-Semitism has spilled over today into our campuses, into our schools, into our own feeling and sense of safety and security. And I want to call out Daryl Moran, who's back there. He is the national president of Forward Latino, and he has showed up for us every single time. At a time when it's not popular to say that you stand with Israel or that you stand with the Jewish community, Daryl has, and we thank you today and every day. Bruce and Jeanette Peckerman are back there. Their daughter, Danielle, is leading Jaffe to do incredible work. And she's solving problems I hadn't thought about. Joan and I went to Ethiopia last May to bring new Olim to Israel. And there are thousands of Olim around the country who had to be moved because they're in areas in which they can't live because they are within 4 kilometers of the border and under constant rocket attack. So we go to Netanya and we go to a hotel on the beach where they have relocated an entire absorption center. And everybody left with whatever they had on them. There was no time to do it. And we walked into a class where adults were still learning Hebrew, and there was school, and there was kindergarten. And what I hadn't realized was that the staff all had to move with them and leave their families because someone had to take care of them. And Danielle said to us, they're our responsibility. They came to Israel, we said we'd take care of you, and we're going to do it. That's what we do. That's what Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh means. But I need to tell you about my scary moment. I was walking, we had walked out of the building where the survivors of Kibbutz Aza were in. We got onto the bus, getting ready to go to our next stop. I'm holding onto my phone, I'm looking at it, and I didn't hear the red alert. I didn't hear it. And I hear someone yell now, and I look up, and everybody's running off the bus, and I run off the bus, and I get off, and all of a sudden I hear boom. Now, I have imagined red alerts. I have been in Israel when there's red alerts. I didn't think of the sound of the explosion, and the security guard says to me, it's okay, that's in Bnei Brak, and I'm still running, and I hear the second boom. And now I'm just trying to get indoors, and I run to the safety of the safe room. And now I'm standing with 25 other Americans and 150 survivors of a massacre. And it became really real. It was us and the survivors from Kibbutz Aza. And the Americans are shaken up, and there's a kid in front of me, because I was towards the end of getting in, who's holding a basketball, and when they say, okay, it's been 10 minutes, you could leave, he says thank you, and he runs out, and he's continuing on with his day, because this is part of his normal life. This wasn't in the south, this wasn't on the border, this was north of Tel Aviv. And it's happening every day, all over. I have the red alert set to my sisters, and while I was there were none in Givatayim. The next day there were 13 in the center of Israel. But we can be proud of the civil volunteerism. I went into a theater that has become a storage unit for packing supplies for all the families, the 250,000 people that are in hotels around the country. Volunteers who don't know each other are there. There are signs as you're going into the building, hey volunteers, if you need to talk to someone, there's a social worker here to speak with you. They told us that if a volunteer gets a phone call and cries, they all don't know the volunteer's name, but they hug them because they know they got terrible news. The people of Israel have come together, and it makes me think of a phrase. There's a part of the Talmud where they talk about God wearing tefillin, and all the rabbis will correct me if I say this wrong, that God wears tefillin, but they're arguing about what does it say on those tefillin, what words does it say? And the Talmud tells us that it says, Mi ke'amcha Yisrael, who is like your nation of Israel, goy echad ba'aretz, one nation in the land. It's not talking about geography. It's talking about one people. What I witnessed this last week through the horrors and the nightmares that they are living and the crisis that we will be there for them, not just now, but in the future. I also saw who is like the nation of Israel, one people in the land. Am Yisrael Chai. Now, if you'll turn your attention to video screens, members of the Milwaukee Jewish community currently living in Israel have shared their thoughts on the importance of this moment and what they are doing to help.
Hi, my name is Sarah Axelrod. You may know me as Sarah Chin. On the morning of October 7th, I woke up to sirens warning of incoming rockets. Later that morning, my husband received an emergency summons to military duty, and by lunch, he was gone. As the wife of a reservist, I'm experiencing an unprecedented level of worry. As an Israeli, I'm experiencing a new level of fear. Like so many, I am constantly accounting for the safety of friends and family, navigating what to do if there's a siren when I'm out, and trying to help our soldiers and refugees in every way possible. From supporting farmers in the south, helping feed our soldiers, and assisting with accommodations in the field. Israelis have come together to care for our survivors, our refugees, and our soldiers, and each other. I am scared, but I am proud, and I know as a country we will get through this. I wouldn't live anywhere else. Thank you for your support, and Am Yisrael Chai.
Hi, I'm Daniel Tzvi. I was born in Israel but raised in Milwaukee. I moved back here in June of 2022. I currently work at a high-tech company in Herzliya. However, of course, since the beginning of the war, many people have been getting involved with volunteer efforts. I've joined my friends down in Hamashbir, which is a bar in Florentine, bar and kitchen that's been cooking food for displaced families and for soldiers and lone soldiers and things of that nature. As well, after about a week of the war, my dad came back, and while he won't put himself on video, I'm here to tell you for him that he's also been doing amazing volunteer work in the South, in agriculture, feeding soldiers, things of that nature. Just know that the people of Israel are really, really, really resilient and really coming together and unifying. And while right now may seem like a dire time, this is a community that is resilient and ready to, protect ourselves and what we believe in.
Hi, my name's Jake Tepper, and I'm from Milwaukee, born and raised, and I've been living in Tel Aviv for the last few years now. I have a bicycle rental business here in Tel Aviv for tourists, but the last few weeks since the war started, there's obviously not been many tourists, so we've been offering free bike tours to families who have been displaced either from the south or north and are staying in Tel Aviv now, just to try and get the kids out of the house, get the parents out, and enjoy a little bit of time during the day. And we've also been offering free bikes to anyone who's volunteering or here in Tel Aviv helping out in any way. Just wanted to say thank you to the Milwaukee community, everybody who's been donating or volunteering or just supporting Israel. We really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Scheuer. I grew up in Milwaukee and I'm currently in Israel for a year teaching English to Israeli students. I live in Rishon LeZion, which is south of Tel Aviv. We've been under very heavy rocket fire for the last 3 weeks, but those of us still here are in good spirits and have been very eager to help out. We've been involved in a number of initiatives, including cooking for soldiers, including fundraising for supplies to be delivered to soldiers in the north and south. And we've continued to teach school to our kids online in a Zoom format to ensure that they're able to stay on some sort of routine. We're hoping to go back in person on Tuesday, which is something I'm very excited for, to show our students that we're still here and we're not afraid. I just want to thank everyone back in Milwaukee for all your support and encourage you to continue to be proud to be Jewish, proud to be supporters of Israel, and stand strong in the face of fear and hatred that we're seeing both here and back home. Thank you, and I can't wait to see everyone hopefully soon.
Shalom Milwaukee, it's Miles Guralnik here, coming in from the old city of Jerusalem. Being in Israel the past year, there was just no way that I could leave without giving back during this time. So thankfully I've had the opportunity to volunteer in a big operation to help send supplies, clothing, food, equipment to families and soldiers in need. And this past week I was even able to help organize a concert for some children whose families were displaced. And my message to all of you right now is to be Jewish and to be proud. During this time, there's a lot going on in the world, and it's extra important that we treat each other with kindness and that we check in with each other, and just know that every single thing that you do to support Israel and to tap into your Jewish identity right now is bringing light to the world. So light those Shabbat candles, have an extra bagel and lox, and I hope to see you in Israel sometime soon. Stay safe, stay healthy. Am Yisrael Chai.
I left for Israel last week without really a plan of what I was going to do, trying to reach out to the hospitals to see who would need a nurse. I work in the Milwaukee VA ER emergency room. So I ended up on my way here, finding out about a group of mostly doctors, a few nurses from the US. We met up with a group from France, also had Canadian doctors. It's a pretty amazing group. I mean, most people just dropped what they were doing to come to Israel and do something to be helpful. And people are fascinated by who are these people that came to a war zone. You know, I think we're supposed to boost morale a little bit, talk to the soldiers. So we're all doing that. It's I don't know if I should use the word exciting. I'm not sure what it is yet. So I wish I had more to report. But we are literally in the IDF. It's crazy. I have a uniform and a helmet and a vest. I got 3 days of training, and yeah, I'm in the Israeli army.
Hi everyone, my name is Izzy Shack. I'm originally from Milwaukee and I made Aliyah 2 years ago, and I'm currently living in Tel Aviv. Since October 7th, I've been coming together with multiple different communities that I'm involved in here to support each other and to give back. A few different things that I've been participating in have been cooking homemade meals for soldiers and displaced families. I have been packaging necessary supplies to be delivered to people all over the country, and I have been supporting farmers who've been affected by the war. Also, with the help of family and friends back home, I've been able to raise over $15,000, which has gone towards multiple different forms of essential equipment for our soldiers mostly, such as generators, so that soldiers in the field can communicate with their loved ones, warm clothes and boots for the soldiers experiencing cold weather and rain, and other protective gear. I just want to thank all of you so much for the continued support. We feel it in Israel, and we're stronger together. Am Yisrael Chai.
Hi, my name is Adina Pullen. I'm from Milwaukee, and this past year and a half I've been studying in Jerusalem at EFG at Aish. I want to just give a little insight on all we've been doing to help the community. We've been doing a lot of work with displaced families and their children, buying groceries and toiletries and necessities for them. We've also been doing a lot of kids programming. We had a carnival for children from the south, and this upcoming week we're having a bat mitzvah for a girl from Netivot who was unable to have one. And just being here is just such an amazing opportunity to help our community, and just thank you so much for all your support and your love from afar, and we appreciate it so much.
Hi, this is Benjamin Schindel. I grew up in Milwaukee and have been living in Israel since 2004. Today I'm an administrative officer in the IDF. These have been very difficult times. Everyone here knows someone who was killed or injured on the 7th of October, and I would like to thank the Milwaukee Jewish community for all of your support and show of solidarity in this tough time. Like they say here, Yachad Nenatzeach, we'll win this together.
Hi everyone, my name is Leah Gaines and I'm from Glendale, Wisconsin. I'm studying at Darfei Bina for the year in Jerusalem, and a few things that my school has decided to do to help the soldiers and all the families that lives are messed up by the war. We have made letters for the soldiers, packages with challahs. We made challahs for them. I also helped at a hotel to store clothing for people who didn't have anything. And we made tzitzis, a lot of tzitzis for all the soldiers. It took a long time, but it was great. So thank you all for your support.
Over the last couple of weeks as the war's been raging out, we've been going and volunteering at food kitchens to deliver food to families that are displaced or soldiers. We've also been tying tzitzit for soldiers, and on top of that, we've been calling up suppliers, bringing equipment here to Tortec, and then delivering it to the front lines. As an individual, I've been working on Hasbara. What that means is nonprofits are calling me up, and I'm doing video editing and filming for them, so that way they can spread the word and get donations to help those in need.
Hello, my name is Moshe Karen. I'm in Yeshiva in Yerushalayim. Some things that we are doing to help volunteer is taking down Sukkot, helping families whose husbands are fighting, and then also helping package supplies for people in the army.
I love the land and I feel a strong connection to it, and I feel a strong connection to my people, and I want to do what I can to help. The program has also taken us to a logistics army base to help organize and reorganize supplies. And they took us to an old person's home to just talk with them, and it took us to a home for the displaced youths from the South to just talk with them and try to help them have a good time for a day. So that's really what I've done to help here, and I'm Israel Chai.
Hi, my name is Avi. I grew up in Milwaukee. I'm currently an ENT, a third-year resident in Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio. I came to Israel to serve with other doctors and help out in whatever way I needed. It's been a great experience so far, and the nation of Israel is still strong, and we're still here, and we're not going anywhere.
How much pride do we feel in our young people over there? Wow. Good evening. I'm Eileen Graves, and I'm the chair-elect for the Israel and Overseas Committee of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, and I also serve on the JFNA IOC committee. Tonight, I'm really pleased to introduce Dr. Alana Stein-Hein. Alana is the Rosh Beit Midrash and Senior Fellow at the Shalom Hartman Institute of North America. The Shalom Hartman Institute is a leading center of Jewish thought and education, serving Israel and North America. Their mission is to strengthen Jewish peoplehood, identity, and pluralism, to enhance the Jewish and democratic character of Israel, and to ensure that Judaism is a compelling force for good in the 21st century. Dr. Alana is a widely well-regarded teacher and scholar, and is passionate about bringing rabbinic thought into conversation with contemporary life. She co-hosts, for heaven's sake, a bi-weekly podcast with Danielle Hartman and Yossi Klein Halevi, exploring contemporary issues related to Israel and the Jewish world. She also writes blog notes from the field for Ideas for Today, which is wisdom on contemporary issues. Her two latest notes were called Suffering and Resilience, a Midrash on Love in a Time of War, and Public Speech, Bystanding and Upstanding. Alana earned her doctorate in religion at Columbia University and is an alumna of the Yeshiva University Graduate Program in Advanced Talmudic Studies, as well as the Consortium in Jewish Studies and Legal Theory Graduate Fellowship at Cardozo School of Law, and sits on the board of Sefaria, a living library of Jewish texts. On a personal note, I have had the privilege to be one of her many Zoom students, reaping the benefits of her passionate, knowledgeable, and engaging teaching style. And I'm so pleased to meet her this evening as a three-dimensional human. Tonight, Alana will lead us in a conversation about strength and fragility at this critical moment in Jewish history. Alana.
Okay, my friends. Thank you, Eileen. I was in a coffee shop the other day, and I'm just online waiting, and a woman turns to me, not someone I know, and she says, "You have that look that we're all walking around with." And then she starts saying, "B'chol dor vador," in every generation. This is what happens. And then another man who was in the coffee shop, who neither of us knew, said, "I have that look. I haven't been able to talk to anyone about it, but I'm walking around with that feeling of heartbreak and existential dread." Here we are in America in 2023, watching our people fight a war against a terrorist entity who doesn't recognize the difference between 48 and 67 borders, whose call is to annihilate as many Jews as possible and the Jewish state. And yet we see people around the world rallying for them. We see people on the campuses our children go to, the campuses we went to, rallying for them. Tonight, I want to talk about this moment as American Jews. You heard a combination of strength and compassion in that video. People using force in the military and people using their compassion to help. We are taught over and over again in the West that you cannot be both powerful and vulnerable. You are either powerful, have no compassion towards others, and have no vulnerabilities, or you are vulnerable and you have no power and no agency, and you can never hurt anyone else. We know that this is not the case. You can carry both power and vulnerability. You can need both strength and compassion. And I want to spend some time thinking about that with you tonight. In terms of defining what anti-Semitism is, there are lots of definitions rolling around. But one that's caught my eye of late, that I find incredibly accurate, is that anti-Semitism is being okay with Jews unless they have power, until they have strength. Then they're a threat. Then they're the problem. But so long as they're vulnerable and downtrodden, we like them. But as soon as they assert themselves with power, they are the problem. In this moment, we are experiencing the dividends of decades and decades of dehumanization of Israel and of Jews by supposed human rights organizations that look at us as a powerful entity that can do nothing right. There is a direct line between the perspective that you are either all powerful or you are all victim. There is a direct line between you can either do no wrong or you can do no right, and the anti-Semitism that we are seeing now. We must fight the narrative that you are either oppressor or oppressed. We must fight the narrative that if you have strength, you do not have compassion. We must fight the narrative that you cannot be victimized even if you have an army. We must fight that. But this moment is not just a moment where people are talking about strength and power and insinuating. It is a moment where the question of compassion comes into play. What does it take to feel compassion for people? So the great political theorist, Martha Nussbaum, she says, here's what it takes to feel compassion for people. You have to believe that what they are going through is serious. You have to believe that what they are going through is not their fault. You have to believe that you share something in common with those who are suffering, and it could have been you. And you have to believe that those people who are suffering matter, and they matter to you. One of the reasons we're all walking around with the look is because we know what happened to our people on October 7th was deathly serious. We do not believe it was their fault. We know it could have been us, and those people matter. Many, many people who suggest that they care about human rights are telling us what you experienced is not serious. Show me more proof, and more proof, and more proof. What happened to you is your fault. We are so unlike you, we could never be in your shoes, and you don't matter to us. Strength and compassion. In this moment, in this country, both concepts are topsy-turvy. Both concepts are woefully misshapen in this moment, and we cannot let that invade our psyche. You can be both strong and vulnerable. You must be both powerful and compassionate. And so what I'd like to do, because as much as, thank God, we have an army, we are not the people of the army. We are the people of the book. As much as we have lobbyists and we have political action committees, we are not the people of the lobby. We are the people of the book. We walk around with our amygdalas firing. Fight or flight, fight or flight. Scream or cry, mourn or scroll. We need to figure out who we want to be in this moment. And no political action committee is going to tell us. And no army is going to tell us. Our Torah, our book, is going to help us discover that. And so I want to spend a few minutes learning. You have it in your hands, right here. I want to look at a piece of Talmud together. It's brief. I would say the reason why I think it's important to study together at this time is not only so that our amygdalas can calm for a few minutes, not only to give us guidance and comfort, but because this is what has been with us in our past, this is what is with us now, and God willing, this is what will be with us in the future. It transcends this moment, and it helps us figure out who we want to be. The Babylonian Talmud, in a tractate called Megillah, has a very kind of simple assertion that I couldn't stop thinking about at the end of, from the transition of the massacre to the war, or the massacre to our side of the war. And it goes like this. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Kol makom she'ata motzeh gvurato shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everywhere that you find in the Bible the strength of God, the power of God, ata motzeh anvitanuto, you also find God's humility proximate to it in the next verse or in the same verse. Now, of course, it's not the case that every single place in the Bible that you find one, you're going to find the other. But it's trying to give us a comprehensive view of what matters. Strength and humility can go together. Compassion and power can go together. Here are the examples. Davar ze katuv b'Torah, shanui b'nevi'im, u'meshulash b'katuvim. This is written in the Torah. It is seconded in the prophets, the 3 sections of the Bible, and it is repeated a third time in the writings. Example 1. Katuv b'Torah. It is written in the Torah. Ki Hashem Elokeichem hu Elokei ha'Elohim va'Adonai ha'Adonim. It says in the Torah, in the 5 books, the Lord your God is the Lord of lords, is the master of masters. Pretty strong, pretty powerful, pretty able and capable, has force, has the ability to get things done. Uchtiv Batrei, and it's written immediately after, Oseh Mishpat Yatom V'Almana. God does the justice on behalf of, not the strong ones, the most vulnerable, the fatherless, the widow. Although if you've ever met a widow, they're the strongest people we know. But think about in the ancient world, vulnerable. Where does God spend God's time? With the vulnerable. There need not be a complete disassociation between strength, between power, and compassion, the way the world tells us there is. A second example, Shanui b'Nevi'im, it is seconded in the prophets. Ko amar ram v'nisa shochen ad v'kadosh v'gomer. So says the high and lofty one, who inhabits eternity and is separate, is holy. God's on high, somewhere up there. Uchtiv batrei, and right afterwards, what does it say? How does God spend God's time? Ve'et daka ushval ruach. God spends God's time with those who are contrite and lowly in spirit. God has status, but is interested in helping the people who don't, is interested in helping the people who other people like to ignore and walk by because it doesn't help them gain higher status, to spend time with them. And a third, Mishulash Baktuvim, it is thirded in the writings, Dichtiv, as it is written, Solu larochev ba'aravot biyashimo. Extol God who rides on the clouds. I mean, how much more separate, how much more, I would say, alien could God sound? And yet, Uchtiv Batrei, immediately after that, Avi Yatomim v'dayan almanot. God is a parent for orphans and a judge for widows. How many parents have you seen riding on clouds and also carpooling their children? It's called work-life balance, I think. But the point that is being made here over and over and over again is that we believe and we aspire not to a false dichotomy between being strong and being compassionate, not to a false distinction between being vulnerable and being powerful. You can be both at the same time. I want to spend a minute before I suggest 3 different relationships between strength and vulnerability in this moment, between compassion and power in this moment, that I hope can inspire us not only to turn away from a false narrative of victor and victim only, but also to push us to be who we need to be in this moment. Before we do that, I want you to turn to the person next to you, because we're not here just to hear speeches, although we're here for that too. We're here to be together. I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to answer either an easy question or a hard question. Here's the easy question. What compassion experiences have you had this week? And what strength or power experiences have you had this week? When this week have you felt strong? When this week have you felt vulnerable? That's the easy one. If you want to get to the more difficult, what do you find to be the relationship between the two? Those moments of vulnerability and those moments of strength. Those moments of compassion and those moments of using force. What do you find to be the relationship? I'm just going to give you a few minutes. Just talk to each other. Talk to each other. Okay, my friends, by a show of hands, who here spoke about a conversation they had with an Israeli family or friend or colleague in their conversation with the person next to them just now? Raise them high. Who here spoke about a conversation that you had with someone at work, a coworker? Who here spoke about a conversation that they had with a family member? Who here spoke about a random conversation with a stranger? Who here spoke about being at a protest? Oh, right, that's a thing. We're working on it. I got it. I know, I heard. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get anyone in trouble. Who here spoke about doing political action? Who here spoke about having a fight on social media? Really, Milwaukee? We are experiencing this combination of vulnerability and power in lots of different places. We are experiencing it for our people over there, and we are experiencing it for ourselves. We are experiencing compassion and having to use strength and voice and force over here and over there. I'd like to leave us with 3 suggestions for an alternative relationship than the one that is presented for the past 2+ decades as to the relationship between vulnerability and power, as to the relationship between strength and compassion. And when the Talmud says that God brings something together, that's an invitation for us to do the same. That's not, it's impossible, that's here's how you aspire. 3 suggestions. The first, we must hold them both. We must not become so hardened by our experiences of victimhood so as to lose our sense of compassion. It can't be. That's not who we are. We cannot be so worried about compassion that we cease to protect ourselves, that we cease to try to make sure that we are okay. That's the first. We must hold them both, even when it feels hard. The second, I have 20 nieces and nephews in Israel who live there. 5 of them are in the army. My sister-in-law did me a great favor the other day, and she sent me a video. She said, I know that you're in touch with my son a lot, who's on a border, and I want to share with you a video of how to talk to a soldier on the border. So I said, thank you. And the video was essentially saying the following. If you expect someone to be psychologically strong enough to use force in the most responsible way they can, you must dole out as much compassion to them as you can. You must shower them with good news. You must shower them with how proud you are of who they are and what they are. You must give them hope. You must treat them not like someone who's holding a gun, but like someone who is scared and terrified. Give them compassion so that they can use the force that they need to use in the most responsible way that they can. Strength and compassion. Even those who look strong, they need our compassion. And by the way, we need it here too. Be compassionate to each other. You know what my motto is? Fight Hamas, not each other. Be compassionate to each other. You disagree, so disagree. You're not winning the war because you kill each other. Think about how to give each other compassion so that when you need to go and do things that require strength, you have the strength to do it. The second. And the third. You cannot protect vulnerable people without strength. You cannot just wish that the orphan and the widow will be taken care of and just hope. It actually takes sometimes a use of strength and sadly even physical military strength. And sometimes in America, it takes lobbying and it takes political action and it takes using power, I know the dirty word, to protect those among us who are vulnerable. And we cannot forget that. Power is not a dirty word. It is a dirty word when people don't want us to have it. It becomes a dirty word if there is no compassion for others alongside it. But it is necessary in order to protect the vulnerable. What I truly, truly hope is that what we are facing right now is the hardest thing that we face in our lives, and that it doesn't get harder. But what I know is that no matter what happens, we cannot lose our humanity, we cannot lose our willingness to draw upon our strengths, and we cannot lose the combination of the two. Everybody here said, Am Yisrael Chai. May the Jewish people live. What I would like to say is not just let us live, let us thrive. Let us be proud of who we are in this moment. Let us do things where we can look back on ourselves and say we dealt with the toughest pressures in a way that is aspirational even to the divine. An extraordinary strength. I wish us all that inner fortitude, that love of each other, and that basic humanity that we retain. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very powerful. We've heard a lot of stories tonight. Well, first of all, my name is Susan Angel Miller, and I am privileged to be the annual campaign co-chair with Max. Thank you so much for joining us for this evening of unity. I know all of our hearts and minds are heavy with all that has been shared over the past several weeks and what has happened over the past several weeks. We've heard stories, and I have a story that hit way too close to home for me. Many of you might know that my daughter Sarah made Aliyah to Israel 18 months ago. In fact, we had her wedding in Tel Aviv just June 29th. On the weekend of October 7th, she and her husband Michael were in Beersheba visiting his parents. They heard sirens and went into the apartment's safe room, which was the grandmother's bedroom. They heard a rocket hit nearby. When they opened the door, they saw smoke and fire and discovered that the cars in the parking lot next to the building had been blown up, like in a war movie. The brother's car, the mother's car, and the father's car. Throughout the apartment, there was damage. My daughter's makeup kit had shards of glass in it. She called me at 2 a.m. from the nearby bomb shelter. She didn't know if more rockets were on the way. Not a call that any parent wants to get in the middle of the night or ever. Thankfully, everyone was unharmed, but knowing how close she was to the attacks and the experience of seeing the damage from a rocket so close by has left us all feeling more than a little anxious and devastated. Not only at the emotional toll that it took on my daughter and her husband and family, but at the emotional and economic toll in Israel. As many of you know, we launched the Israel Emergency Fund campaign just a few short weeks ago. As of this evening, I'm so proud that the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, with the help of so many incredible volunteers, has raised more than $4.1 million towards our $6 million goal. Collectively, the federations of North America have raised a total of $554 million, and there is still so much more we need to do. So tonight, we ask, what are you willing to give so that your sisters and brothers and friends in Israel can find safety and security? Tonight, we appeal to your sense of duty and pride, asking you to give as if the safety of your own family depended on it, because in reality it does. What's happening is not occurring in isolation in Israel, it's our world, and we're in the midst of a profound crisis for the Jewish people. We're asking you tonight simply to contribute to the Israel Emergency Fund in an amount equal to or greater than your annual campaign gift, if at all possible. That is what my husband Ron and I are proud to be doing. If you don't currently give to the annual campaign, then we ask that you give as generously as possible. It's the most extensive fundraising effort and appeal that we've done in 3 generations. Tonight, we call upon each of you to join us in safeguarding the future of our Jewish community through intentional, passionate, and generous giving. Together, we represent a powerful force that propels our Jewish world forward. We are part of an unbroken chain of ancestors who have collectively cared for the needs of the Jewish people and helped our community survive and thrive for centuries. Each of us carries the blessing and responsibility to nurture and sustain our shared future. We understand that many of you have already pledged or given generously, and we so appreciate that. To those, we extend our gratitude, and we also request that pledges, if at all possible, can be paid promptly so that we can send the money directly to Israel. 100% of the money we're raising for the Israel campaign is being sent to Israel. 100%. While you're here tonight, we also encourage you to consider whether you can increase the gift you've already given, remembering that every dollar makes a significant difference in people's lives.
Thank you, Susan. These are very tough times, obviously, very emotional times, a very emotional evening. And Susan and I are standing up here and we're asking, and the community is asking for a lot from everybody. But this, our Jewish community in Milwaukee, has always been an incredible community, as Lloyd Levine and Alan Markovitz, who go way back in our community, know. We've always been there, we've always risen to the occasion, we've always overcome the odds, and we're going to do it again. As Susan said, we've raised so far over $4 million towards the Israel Emergency Fund. Our goal, if I'm correct, is $6 million. But we cannot forget that we also have our annual campaign. And our annual campaign, as Mark Shapiro is sitting here from the Jewish Community Center, and he can attest to how important that campaign is, because we must continue to support all of our local agencies, not just in Milwaukee, but the Milwaukee Jewish Federation is responsible and is paying for security for the entire state. Every agency throughout the state of Wisconsin. And these costs today are enormous. Last year, we raised a little over $7 million. We must raise at least that much this year in our current campaign, in addition to what we're doing for the Israel Emergency Fund. So I implore everybody, please give to both campaigns. I don't care if it's $50, $25, $100, every dollar counts, and everybody is just as important as the next. We are incredibly grateful for every single gift in our community, and I want to make that very, very clear. You know, it's not easy, but we're special, we're different, and as has been said tonight more than once, all we have is ourselves. And we have to count on each other, and we have to be there for each other, and we have to stand up when it matters. And there's no better or more important time than now. I think the theme this year, it's not a matter of should I give to one campaign or the other. We don't have that choice. It's we have to give to both campaigns. I can tell you that, and I know I speak on behalf of Susan and everyone else representing the dual campaigns we have going on in our community. I can personally tell you that the people I have spoken to, and I'm speaking to people on a daily basis, the response has been unbelievable, heartwarming. Talk about, and the word I heard so clear tonight, being proud of being Jewish. Unbelievable. So I believe that you can make your gifts using your QR code. I don't know how to use a QR code. I trust you do. But my wife is here. And that code is on your program. Or you can text the letters MJF to 51555. MJF to 51555. From there, you will receive a link to both the Israel Emergency Fund and the annual campaign. So on behalf of Susan, myself, and the entire community, we thank you very much.
Well, I have to say, one of the worst things you can do is follow Max Rosansky. Good evening, my name is Mark Shapiro. Forget my title up there. Tonight, I am a strong and compassionate. I am a powerful and extremely vulnerable Jew who loves Israel and stands with Israel without question. I have no idea how to fit that on a business card, but our graphic designers will work on that. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Max, for the update about the amazing campaigns that are running. Our community could not move forward without both of these campaigns. And it's time for us to change that saying of give till it hurts. It's time for us to give till it feels amazing.
Hi, I'm Tsipi Altman-Schaefer. Okay.
No need for titles.
No need for titles. And I'm feeling very hugged to be in this room right now and surrounded by everyone in this room, the people who've spoken, everyone who took the time to come tonight, and who's watching online. Al tifrosh min hatzibur. Do not separate yourself from the community. Al tifrosh min hatzibur. That's what Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, teaches us. Do not separate yourself from the community. Our strength comes from being together in community. It's why we're all here tonight. It's what I keep hearing that our community wants. But many times we don't know how to come together. Tonight we're together as a community. And we want to give you the opportunity to come together in a variety of ways. We want to tell you about some opportunities to support Israel, in addition to making your donation to the Israel Emergency Campaign and the annual campaign. So many of us need to feel involved in a personal way, and we're going to share with you a few ideas.
So, the messages from Israel come to us. How can we send our messages to Israel? We can do that through an amazing project that Milwaukee is going to be starting called the Kudo Board. It's a digital message board to share messages of prayer, inspiration, and of hope to the people of Israel during this unprecedented time. You can find directions on how to do this in your program, except Max won't be able to do it, so someone needs to help him. You can upload video messages, photos, letters, anything of inspiration, and the board will then be shared with schools, communities, soldiers, social service agencies, and other places with connections to Milwaukee.
We're here to support you if you have an idea about how to help Israel, and or if you want to volunteer. Join LEV, Local Emergency Volunteers for Israel. Milwaukee Jewish Federation is convening a group of lay leaders finding creative ways to support Israel. If you would like to volunteer, you should email our shlicha, Noah, for ways to get involved.
Speaking of that, our community's, one of the community representatives, one of our leaders, Yaniv Denur, reached out to the JCC and said, I need to do something. So we invite you to join us on Wednesday, November 8th, a week from tonight, at the JCC at 7 p.m. for a program called My Heart is in the East, an evening of music and poetry from Israel. Yaniv is coordinating a program with our Shinshanim, with Noah, the talent of our Israelis that are here, along with a maestro. Each of us is looking for something, some way. Tonight, it was studying Talmud with an expert. And maybe that works, but maybe for you it's art. Whatever it may be, our community is here to bring people together to do it, and we hope that you will join us. Tonight, though, was an opportunity to begin a conversation. If we are supposed to be strong, then there are those moments to raise our voices and our hands in support. And there are also times to come together and just share how scared we are, how sad we are, how fill in the blank, because most of the time we have no idea what word to put in that blank. Maybe somebody else has the word for you. Maybe someone can answer the question that Sippy and I have been asking for a week, which is, how do you answer this very simple question? How are you? It's hard in a room full of a couple hundred people, so we are looking to launch a new program here in Milwaukee called A Place to Talk. Who wants to just host a place to talk? Pick a coffee shop, your house, a table at the JCC, here at a synagogue, or anywhere throughout Milwaukee. Just grab a group of friends or strangers you've never met before and stop by one of the organizations in town that will be distributing a Place to Talk kit. Further information to follow when we actually figure out what's going to be in it. During these dark times, we're looking for ways to add joy and light and for people to feel connected. So let's keep this conversation and look to your email and to the website in the coming days as we launch A Place to Talk. Al tifrosh min hatzibor. Do not separate yourself from our community. We just need to keep coming together. We find that the people that are standing against us are standing against something. Together we stand for something. Together we find strength in a conversation or in a hug, in a moment of Talmud, or whatever it is that brings us together. Please continue to support our community. We need to support Israel. Let tonight be the beginning of these conversations and pick one or all of the opportunities as our community continues to come together. Thank you, and we welcome my rabbi, Joel Alter, to his bima.
Good evening. So there was a slight miscommunication. I was asked to prepare to offer a prayer for the soldiers or for peace, but somehow what appears on the program is a prayer for the state of Israel. Gosh, what should I do? I've written a poem offering in my own words a prayer for the soldiers of the state of Israel. And I ask you all to join me afterwards in a prayer for the state itself. Most of you are near a Siddur, those of you in the back. You can come forward. There is place to grab a Siddur, and that prayer for the state of Israel is at page 178 in the red prayer books in the seat backs. A prayer then for the soldiers of the state of Israel. My poem is inspired by Deuteronomy 20. I encourage everyone to have a look and see what's there. The soldiers, dear God, their beautiful faces, radiant, confident, and proud, smiling out from their uniforms, berets folded neatly atop their shoulders, rifles slung casually off to the side. God, you know the soldiers, each of them, from before the uniformity of their uniforms. You know that to turn toward battle, a soldier must turn from a girlfriend, a partner, a love, leaving empty for now their side of the bed. God, you see that in taking up a rifle, a soldier sets down the hammer they'd held, a hammer to hang that picture from this summer's hike, or of their savta beaming, or to put up a mezuzah at their new apartment. You're watching, God, when they give quick, distracted instructions as they hand off their projects at work, or the plants in their den, or the modest grapevine on the mirpeset, or that invoice that's all screwed up, or how to tuck the children into bed. God, you feel, you share their trembling fear, even as you imbue them with strength. With your reassurance, God, and the steadiness of their training, help them remember their commitment to their cause. Help them trust their assurances, mouthed over staccato breaths, that they'll be home, whole, and soon. Adonai Tzvaot, soldiers' God, be with the women and men of Tzahal. Be with all in this war for Israel, for the Jewish people. Wellspring of blessing, may courage steel their backs, bravery quicken their legs, discernment sharpen their minds, vigilance focus their eyes, purpose steady their hands, love calm their pounding hearts. Shield them, God, from corrosive anger and hatred. Shomer Delatot Yisrael, El Shaddai, bless and guard the soldiers of Israel in this god-awful war. May these warriors one day soon turn homeward, wearing the dusty crown of victory, and may they once again take up that hammer, that watering can. God, may you one day soon restore Chayalei Tzahal to the outstretched, grateful hands of the ones they love. And now a prayer for the state of Israel. Why don't we stand? Avinu Shabashamayim Tzur Yisrael V'Goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu. Hagen alea be'evrat chasdecha, ufros aleha sukat shalomecha. Ushlach orcha v'amitcha l'rashea, sarah v'yotzea. V'taknem be'etzah tova milfanecha. Chazek et yedei miginei eretz kodshenu, v'anchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, v'ateret nitzachon tatrem, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshvea, v'nomar, Amen. And now I invite up Noah Gerasi and Kevin Fine to offer a prayer for the hostages.
The nature of prolonged war is that as the emergency drags on, it becomes a new normal, gradually blending the crisis with the routine everyday life. This is natural and understandable. However, in so many ways, the terrible terror that Israel experienced on the morning of October 7th are not yet ended. In Gaza, there are currently 239 hostages, including babies, little children, young men and women, and the elderly. Their families' lives have turned into a daily struggle to bring back their loved ones. We must not let them fight alone. The number 239 is inconceivable. It's difficult to understand, to fully comprehend its meaning. Tonight, we ask you to give a name and a face to each number. On the seats in the back of the room, you saw posters with the names and photos of the hostages. Look around. There are 239 of them. On the back of the posters, there is a prayer for their safety return. We ask you to take a copy of the poster from the staff on your way out, to embrace their names and faces in your heart. Look at the details, learn their personal stories, give them identity and life in your prayers. Give them and their families hope. In addition to that, we ask you to join in a campaign to raise their awareness about the hostages by wearing blue ribbons. By wearing these ribbons, we will make sure that the hostages are not forgotten. Blue ribbons will be available to you as you leave tonight. We invite you to wear them from now until the captives return home safely. Now we will share a prayer for the safe of the immediate return of the hostages. מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, יוסף, משה ואהרון, דוד ושלמה, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וישמור וינצור את השבויים. בתוך שאר אחינו, בית ישראל הנתונים בצרה ובשביה. בעבור שהקהל מתפלל בעבורם, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, ויוציאם מחושך וצל מוות, ומוסרותיהם ינתק, וממצוקותיהם יושיעם, ויושיבם במהרה לחיק משפחותיהם. יודו לאדוני חסדו ונפלאותיו לבני אדם. ויקיים בהם מקרא שכתוב, ופדויי אדוני ישובון, ובאו ציון ברינה, ושמחת עולם על ראשם, ששון ושמחה ישיגו. ונסו יגון ואנחה, ונאמר אמן.
The one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, David, and Solomon, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, may they bless and safeguard and preserve the captives among their brothers and sisters in the house of Israel in trouble and captivity. In the merit of the prayers of this holy assemblage who pray for them, may the blessed Holy One shower compassion over them and deliver them from darkness and strife, remove their bondage, deliver them from their afflictions, and return them speedily to their families. Let them give thanks for God's loving kindness and for the miracles to the children of Adam, and establish for them that what is written, and the ransom of God shall return and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon their heads. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away.
We will conclude our program with the Star-Spangled Banner and Hatikva, led by the Milwaukee Jewish Community Choral, followed by Am Yisrael Chai, led by Chazan Jeremy Stein of Congregation Beth Israel Ner Tamid, and the Wisconsin Mishlachat. Please rise.
Thank you to our Milwaukee Jewish Community Chorale. That was beautiful. We're going to change up our ending a little bit. I would ask everyone who is working in Jewish education, as an educator, as a teacher in any of our schools, to come up and help us lead Am Yisrael Chai. Our teachers, our educators are keeping us strong, keeping our children strong at this time. So if you could come up and help us. Define yourself as an educator as you will.